And the next talk is by Jean-Philippe. It's about the Debian community team, if it's the United Nations Organizations of Debian. So enjoy.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the introduction and for your work you did at the last talk I did. So well, hi again, folks. So yeah, today I wanted to talk about the community team from a funny perspective, also in a typical introduction, but also a funny perspective. Let's see together interesting comparison, I think. In the talk I did about Debian France before the break, someone asked about a flat organization, and I explained that it was very difficult, according to me, in my opinion, to do a flat organization, even if Debian has success with this kind of organization. It is not easy at all. I also remember that Jonathan, when he introduced his application to become a DPL, introduced with some political considerations about the importance of Debian in the current world. And so I told myself, but, well, let's do a comparison between, Debian and maybe the real world, actually, and the role of the community team in this environment. Well, in the real life, we are all individuals. We are individuals, and when we do something which is not good, we have the police, we have the law, we have the judge, and we have the states. The states is a regulation mechanism of all we do, individuals, and when there is a problem, individuals go to a referee, a kind of referee, to solve the situation and to fix things. But states themselves, they have nothing above there. So the relationship which exists between them are a relationship with strength, a relationship with, there are some wheres, there are some discuss, there are some balances, and states are every state is standalone, at least from a law point of view, from a right point of view. What's the relationship? I'm saying is with Debian? Well, Debian, anyone in Debian is a state, because no one has an obligation. No one can request you to do something and tell you absolutely have to do, and if you do not, you have a problem. No, you do or you don't do. The Constitution is clear about that, saying that any developer should do something, but if he doesn't want, he doesn't do. So we have this world where everybody is responsible, everybody is free. And in this context, a Debian contributor, in particular Debian developer and Debian maintainers, may be compared to states, because they are completely free. And of course, because they are free, there is an easy comparison we can do, saying that, well, how to discuss. States discuss with the trade, with the diplomacy, with that. Between us, of course, we discuss just like human beings, because we are individuals. So we discuss, we have mailing lists, etc. But of course, there are some formal problems sometimes, some situations which are not comfortable. And so, what did the states? Because they were aware that the way to discuss together was very not acceptable, because there were some wares, some difficult wares, World War in 1945, that created the United Nations Organization. It's a place which was designed to talk about world problem together, to meet each other, a kind of mediation place. Well, let's don't talk about the results of this organization, because a lot of things could be done, and we would go so far in this talk. It's not the topic. But, well, the purpose of this organization was a place to talk together, to meet each other, and a kind of mediation place. In Debian, we have the community team. The community team, whose role should be summed up in saying, well, let's talk together, let's meet each other when there are problems, and let's mediate the problems. So what do, in this context, as a kind of United States organization, what does the community team? The first essential task of the community team is to help Debian being welcoming. So the first thing important, of course, to do that is to respond to concerns. When some contributor in Debian has a concern with someone or with a team because he's not comfortable with the communication or with things which happen in the team or in his relationship with someone, he can contact us. If you feel bad in a team, if you feel alone, if you feel there is a problem between two teams, well, let's talk together. And we're going to try to find solutions to establish together the dialogue between the teams and to helping people to talk each other, to talk with calm, and to try to find a way to proceed together, to go forward together in the good idea that Debian should be a welcoming community. The other thing we do is helping communication channel managers when they need to take decision about someone's behavior. Well, when you are a list master, when you manage the mailing list or the Planet administrator, or when you are the Bugzilla owner, etc., sometimes there are some messages which may be difficult, which may be unacceptable for most reasons, and may be a problem for some persons in the community. And of course, these administrators may need to take a decision and to take the appropriate action, but may to be supported in that with an external point of view. And it's important. So also we have this role. Also in the debconf itself, you know that there is a code of conduct in the debconf. The code of conduct, well, it is also applied to all the Debian project, but is particularly right in the debconf. And you know that this code of conduct also, we need someone to, not to judge, but to take advice, to say, well, in our honest opinion, we think you are not compliant with the code of conduct. And so when we're doing that, we are not here to say you're wrong, but how could you try to find a way to first be compliant with the code of conduct because it's adopted by all the community, but also to feel good in the project and in the work environment that is Debian and the society is Debian. So to do that, how could you do? What could you do? So our role here is giving advice, of course, and giving opinion to support individuals to talk each other and to talk together. The other thing is important, and well, fortunately, it's not the majority of the activity, but of course it may happen, especially the last years, is to help teams when the situation becomes critical. I mean, when there is harassment from someone. The original name of the team was anti-harassment because it was created in this context, but no, it's not exactly the same context, but the reality is that harassment still exists or may exist. And it's important here to be able to give advice about code of conduct and its violations, to coordinate the efforts which are done by the community, by the communication with managers, by the DAM, so the Debian account manager, by all the persons who help Debian to be a welcoming community and to accept persons who want to help, but who also have a high feeling about respect of others. So it's very important for us also to be able to help other teams and DPL itself to manage these situations and to manage how we do things. Also, in this context, it's important, for example, to be the destination of the behavior which make you worries on the mailing list or beyond. For example, someday we had someone who told us that in a bug report, in a package, or in a signature, or in a signing of a person, it was worried about what there was inside, and we should take an action to take some decision. Well, we studied the thing and we tried to give an appropriate answer. So it's a very important role, but a role which is not, of course, now as we are going to see. Well, I can say that just now we have a delegation from the Debian leader, sorry, Debian the DPL. So this delegation actually just shows all that and shows all our responsibility. But in our opinion, these responsibilities need to be responsibilities to make easier the dialogue between people. And one thing is sure, she will never be, because Debian doesn't work like that, it will never be a responsibility of taking a decision. We only advise other teams to take decisions. Well, I wonder whether it would be useful to expose here all the members of the team. Well, what I can say just now uselessly, because named of persons, you will have them on the delegation text and on the wiki page. What I can say is that there are 7 people today in the team. It's not very much. We need persons to help this effort. People who want to do some, to accept to do some mediation, who have the capability to be calm in front of conflictual situations and harmful situations are very welcome, because we need that, as it's a very intensive psychologically this world of being in this team. So we need help, and the most we are, the less difficult it is, because everyone can take a topic according to his available time, and it's very much more easy to talk together of a topic and to have someone, and not to be in the situation where you say, if I don't do something, the fire is here. So when we are 7, it's a good thing, but I think in the historical members of the team consider that we should be more numerous to be more comfortable. And also in the delegation, you will see that the DPL thinks and is right that recruiting is very important, because it's a very difficult task that we have. Anyway, one thing is interesting is that this team has inside a high level of diversity, I would say, even if it's not perfect, even if we'd like to do better, but there is a high level of diversity. To sum up, there was at least 1 blind people, myself. There are 2 women. I don't remember the word to express the non-gender, but there is also a person who is non-gender. So we'd like to be more numerous to increase the diversity of the team. However, I can say also that, in my honest opinion, we also have this diversity, or at least we started having this diversity And that's the reason for which we didn't think that it would be in our responsibilities, but it's a constant purpose, recruiting and keeping the diversity. For a simple reason also, because maintaining diversity enables us to understand better the cultures. I take an example. I'm sure that a French or a European person will not understand a conflict the same way as person in Asia, for example, China or India. So it's important to have this diversity of points of view, to have the global solutions about how we could consider a problem, how we can consider a situation, and first, how we should understand a situation between two persons of a different culture, and how we should set it according to that, but also with a mix of the cultural of everyone in the team. So it would be very important. Well, how we work now, so far, I could say nearly that I nearly could say that the members of the team are actually the Security Council of the United Nations Organization. But the difference is that there is not any privileges, of course, because the context is not the same. But it's the same thing. How we do that? When someone submits some concerns to the community@debian.org, community@debian.org alias, he has a reply, which is done, acknowledged, at least in the 24 hours. At least to know that someone read the mail and it's in our processes. The cases are registered privately, of course, and they are tracked privately to keep an archive and to be sure that we don't forget anything, and we have a follow-up of all what happens and all the situations, especially when the situations need to be monitored in the time. Be aware that any proposal we do, any advice we do, or any action we advise to take is discussed in the team. The team has a weekly meeting. So during these meetings, we of course talk about the week events, and if there is some case who arise, we discuss about it, and we discuss about the reply. Sorry, I don't understand. Okay. So I don't understand exactly what. Sorry, IRC disturbed me. So it's that to say that we work with Salsa, we work with a pad, we work with IRC, with Signal, of course, when we need to talk together with speaking. So we have the means to discuss all what we advise, all what we propose, and to be sure that the decision is taken with all the diversity of the team. When there is a concern about a relationship between two persons or with another team, etc., well, both parties are listened anonymously, of course. We never say, well, the person told us there is a problem here, what do you think about it? No, we see someone did, and we are not here to say who is wrong, who is right, but to understand why did you do that, what's your how you consider that, and what should be done, what's the problem, and what could, well. So we listen to every part of a situation. be sure that, well, it's advice which takes in account all the complexity of the human relationships and a team organization as well. If now I talk about the coordination tasks, if you like to, yes, I will read the RSC question at the end of the talk. So don't hesitate to ask again if I don't answer us immediately. Don't hesitate to ask again at the end of the talk. I will read it on RSC later. Yeah. The other part of the task, just like I said, it's the coordination task. The coordination task implies that we have a common workspace with other teams, just like I mentioned, so the AM, DPL, and the communication channels managers, so that we talk together and we take the appropriate action. We have a follow-up. We are designing, thanks to the effort of one contributor, many thanks to do that anyway, a guideline documents to be able to face the future situation more easily. So the thing will be to say, well, when there is, for example, a harassment, what should we do to avoid it becomes absolutely terrible for persons and really complicated. So we have also that, a common place, a guideline, so a way to work together, which is defined also with the other teams. It's the same for the DebConf, where we talk with the DebConf community, the DebConf team, of course, and the local the organization. We are aware that there are some things to improve about that. We have some feedbacks about former things. And so, in this context, we want to improve our discuss with other teams and to make easier as well the DPL work about all these parts of coordinating the potential decisions taken by the DebConf local teams, etc., etc. So here again, it's important for us to get involved in this way to make relationship easier between persons. So I think all that enables me to share the idea with you, and I'm completely ready to disagree, but I would be very interested to know that Debian is the community team, is a kind of United Nations organization, because, well, Debian is a society with persons with difficulties to talk together sometimes, because sometimes the debate is very inflamed. So of course we tend to be enthusiastic, but somewhat we don't use correct form, and also more as via mails it becomes very difficult. So the community team is here to do mediation, to maintain in Debian a welcoming community, just like 19 UNO is here to do the world security and the world peace, even if they don't do that very well because it's there are other problems, but well. And we do that via dialogue, via recommendations, via advice, and there are other teams who do actions, but also they are supported by the common effort. So my purpose is always the same: protecting our members, to make them pleased with contributing to Debian. We are not a lot of Debian developers, so it's absolutely capital, essential to be sure that together we get respect, to ensure freedom of words, of diversity, and to be sure that there will be a real happy pleasure for people to be in Debian. We have some examples, so I will not give, of course, some some exact examples because you understand it's anonymous. But just for example, to say a situation. Here's the situation at least. For example, someone say, "I'm not respected by someone." Well, let's try. We try to understand why the person wrote that, what the person feels that, then what means the person when she wrote, and we discover that actually it's just that both teams have some problems to discuss together, and they have some problems which are absolutely not a kind of concern. And at the final, I think the person feels less alone, feels, well, no, it's not you the problem, or at least you are not the target of what is said against what you're doing. But the situation here is that there is process problems, but that's all. Our role is also to have this outside point of view, who enables the persons to feel listened to by someone and to be somewhat less stressful, I hope. So it was a situation very interesting where we tried to understand both positions, and we were here especially to make two people speak while it was probably difficult to do in the first time. Optionally, of course, we try to find a balance between both positions, but at the final, I think we can, without so much problems, find some solutions to make people talk together, because in Debian, we are everything to each other. I don't think there is some animosity together. We also help Listmaster. As you know, some members of the team are members of the moderation team for Debian project mailing list. We also made some package removed for some non-maintenance because it wasn't maintained anymore. We also follow some hiring bug reports threads to calm the debates, to try to make people understand that what they are saying, that they are doing, may be stressful for persons. Well, in this context, we try also to make people to understand that when they are writing something, they should be aware about how it will be read by the destination. So it's also important for us to do that as well, to be in this role of mediation. To finish, I would tell you how to contact, even if I started doing that. community@debian.org is the best place to do that. You also can contact the DPL, and probably we'll get together with the DPL some solution about the topic. And also to this address, you can apply to become a member of the team. We really need help. It's absolutely essential, just like I said some time ago. Well, thank you very much. That's it for me, and I'm waiting for your questions that I'm going to read now on the IRC. I didn't do it in a few times. And also, don't hesitate to tell me if you think that my comparison with the international world is not good. Maybe it isn't, but it seems to me that it was funny to try doing that together and to have these thoughts inside the community, because there are some parallel situations which are very interesting, I think. Thank you, and I'm waiting for your questions that I'm going to read on the channel. We have some time because if I 15 minutes, if I remember, so you can read. Well, so it seems that there are a lot of feedbacks about 15 minutes. Yeah, okay. About the Federation support, Debian Federation. Make your message with question before, please, to be sure that it's a question for the talk, because I need to read it to have the video to stay relevant. Why did you choose United Nations organizations like an analogy for the Debian community team when its purpose is to make Debian a welcoming place and is an influence place to some countries and their interests is not a state as you. Yeah, you're right. The comparison, of course, is a limitation, of course, because the history is not the same. Because we don't, of course, we don't have the same relationship between us, while states between together, of course. So it's not exactly the same thing. But at least let's focus on the big ideas. When you see UNO was founded to constitute this place, even if, of course, you're right, it's an influence place, it's some strength reports, some strength relations. So, yeah, of course, it's difficult. It's not the same thing, but at least in the idea, I thought it was interesting to do this comparison. And I hope Debian is better than United States. I am sure that Debian is much better, but that, well, we also manage some relationship between us and not also between between the states. It's not exactly the same. Well, it's not exactly. We just talk about technical thing in Debian. States talk about a lot of things, so it's not exactly the same thing. But the way of working, the way of things, or at least they should be, the official place of this organization is to make peace via mediation and via to avoid wars. Now we know 60 decades later that it's not efficient, because it was absolutely not simple, because at the Security Council we have permanent members, we have some hierarchy. Okay, there is not that in Debian. So in Debian, I think we have this capability to get a community team which really have the success that the United Nations doesn't have due to these hierarchy problems. So, well, it's the comparison, of course, has limitations, but it's interesting for the fun, I think. Is there other questions? Are there other questions? Sorry. I saw some questions while I was speaking, but I didn't. I don't know if they come back. Okay, another question. I don't know if your parallel fits. Okay, I see Debian more as a peer preview organization. CTTU, so the Technical Committee, is kind of a proxy for technical disputes. Debian Community Team might be more a proxy for social disputes and misunderstanding. Yes, you're right. It's exactly that. You're right saying that CTTE has the technical role than community team has. And you're right, because saying that, you are saying that both organizations could represent the UNO that I tried to compare. And you're right to say that there are two parts of that. You're completely right. Yeah. And that's right. I shouldn't forget this other part of the topic. Are there other questions? We have 10 minutes, so we can still together. So I tried to read another reaction. So honestly, is the fit, of the analogy that important? Yeah, okay. So it's a reaction about the analogy. I'm waiting still for the questions, because I think it would be interesting also that all the Debian project via the videos may be aware of the existence of the team and of the idea behind the delegation on the team, and also so it's important for me to be sure that all the questions are answered in the videos. So that's the reason for which I wait somewhat before saying goodbye if there are some additional questions. Waiting still some 1 or 2 minutes. Anyway, don't hesitate again to contact me in private, in query again, of course. And I remember, yeah, an important thing maybe is to remember our question. Please say more about team member training. Well, you're right to ask that. The process to become a member of our team is not so difficult because we don't have a look about curriculum vitae or things like that. However, we try to have people inside who like mediation, who like the team working, and who share for example, who set a test to see how the person would write a mail in reply to a request and what would be his approach. So we try to establish that how a person would behave against a difficult situation. Once that is done and once that the person is trained about the tools, we don't have specific training about it because remember that we have volunteers. So we do with our sensitivity, we do with our personal training, but I think that persons who absolutely don't want to manage conflicts and to manage difficult human situations anyway will not come in this team. Persons wanting to do that are persons who have a sensitivity about that, and so we need it. Yes, we should need probably, but it's not absolutely dramatic if there is not a specific training, and also because all the decisions are taken inside the team. There are also the role of well, there are people who have more experience in the team. So we are young. Personally, I'm very young in the team. I have some months ago in the team. So I rely on persons having more experience. And that's also the way to train, to see from other people with more experience what are the problems, what are the thing, how does it happen, etc., etc. And it's very helpful. It's very helpful to do that. It's a kind of training. What training is the team doing or planning to do? Yeah, it's what I just said. So not training really, but when we come in such team, you first listen to persons having experience, and well, you progressively finish finding the good approach, the good reply, and you take decisions, you get involved in collective decision, and after that you finish having experience enough to get involved in more active and more influence. I'm liking the last message. Back to the topic. I've been tempted to say I'd love to join the team. Well, but I know the time requirements to do the way over what I can offer. Well, the time is not so important if we are a lot of person. If we are a lot of person, we don't spend so much time to handle the problems because we do that with a team, and also there are several persons, and we can also let a problem aside because someone other does. So if we are a lot of people, the work will be less difficult. But the least we are, the most the work is hard. So even if you have few time, come if you have just some 1 hour a week or sometimes something like that, it's a good thing. So really, don't hesitate anyway. Yeah, Steve says that there was a thought about organizing some more formal training for team members. I don't know about that. Maybe we are going to do that. It would be a good idea. I had no idea about things in bikes should be. Another question, I wonder how you deal with words that might be read as aggressive while they might not have been written that way. Well, it's case per case, of course, to handle that, but it's a kind of mediation to try to make understand that, for example, to say to the person, well, the author wanted meant this, you understood that, but maybe because you are inside the situation, when you have a look at it from an outside point of view, we don't have the same perception. And the simple fact that the perception is different may help persons who would take a mail or a sentence just like an attack to step down, to say, okay, maybe it's because I'm subjective. We are neutral, and this neutrality enables us to, for example, to help people to, well, I understand your point of view, but try to have a look at it with more calm, more without being so much inside your topic, and maybe you will understand that behind the writing there is not a bad intention, and if there is a bad intention, it's another kind of problem. It's a violation of the code of conduct, and of course it would be another kind of message. But it's this kind of action that we're trying to have. 3 minutes, but I think it's good for us. I don't see further questions, and I will not have the time. So don't forget community.at-debian.org. It would be really great to have more members. As I say, of course, it requires some time, but not so much. And as I said, if we are numerous, we will have to get less time for this job. For your information, in my personal life, I also work massively for the translation in Debian, and I have success doing that. So the community team is not the only part of the time. Other members do other things in Debian, because we will not do only, of course, we not only do this team, we do other things in Debian. So it also shows that the time exists. Yes, always I should good faith. Yes, it's an excellent sum up of yes. Who all can participate. The other criteria of eligibility. Yes, I finished. Of eligibility is to be a Debian developer. If you are a Debian developer, you can get involved. Well, just now it's finished, so I'm going to stop here. If you have questions, you can ask privately, of course, and on community@debian.org. Thanks for your attention, and don't hesitate to do further reaction.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot.